What is up? It's a Figure Hunter, and here with the full and final review for the new Garmin Instinct 2. Obviously, I did an initial review, I did a midpoint review, I talked about it in the Breaking Down the Garmin lineup, comprehensive overview of all the Garmin watches. So I'll put some description in the description below. I'll put some links so you can see all those things. Because what I want to do tonight, and please, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. As always, I try to test and track devices for the purpose of CrossFit and high-intensity interval training, looking at both health and wellness and sleep, as well as the intensity of the workout tracking and the training load tracking over time. So please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more. But what I want to do tonight is break down in really quick, simple form the watch benefits, the watch specs, the watch capabilities, as well as the app capabilities that come with the watch, because again, not all of Garmin's app capabilities get turned on or get activated with every watch they have in their lineup. Again, please see the description below for the video of understanding Garmin's comprehensive lineup, what benefits you'll get with some watches, what benefits you won't get with others. So we're going to do a quick run through of those types of things, and then we're going to talk about the pros that I found in detailed form and the cons that I found in detailed form, and then an overview summary of what I think about the new Garmin Instinct 2. So let's dive into a quick overview of the watch and then the app. All right, so this is the Instinct 2. So I'll try to not move it around as much. Somebody said they got dizzy last time. 45.5 millimeters across, 15.5 millimeters thick. Actually, the thickness is about the same as the Fenix 7. It's a 22 millimeter band, and one of the beauties of this is you can take the original band, which has that rigid design. You can remove the pins, and you can go with a quick fit, which is on the Fenix 7 and the 945 LTE. And it just sort of snaps in. It's got the extra fat band, extra fat pins, so it actually works really well and super, super safe. But this is fantastic. It's 53 grams in weight. The size of the screen is, much smaller than a typical, Garmin watch would be. It's a transflective memory and pixel, but it is a much more muted version of their memory and pixel transflective screens, and the brightness is much dimmer, even at full brightness, because you do have brightness control. You can go up to 100%, down to 0, down to 5, something like that. But the full brightness is 9.6 lumens, which is 13% of the brightness of a full brightness of a Fenix 7. So it's 13% of the overall brightness, even at max brightness. So that should translate into longer battery life. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as far as what the battery life uncovering details were. This does have a lot bigger glass depth, so it is ideal if you have a really rough and tumbly lifestyle. Typically watches are about 0.4 millimeters the glass from the edge of the bezel, and this is 1.5 millimeters, so much bigger. This Instinct 2 has a higher resolution than the original Instinct 1, which is why they're able to add a bunch of new fields and new capabilities to what you can see on the screen. So if you were to compare it to a regular transflective watch, you can see it's a much dimmer, duller experience. This is the Polar Grit X. This is like 30% of the brightness of the Fenix 7, maybe 35. But you can see it's a much more quality experience. The blacks are more black. Here you just have just a much more dull experience than what you would get on the Polar Grit X. And then if you obviously were looking at screen technology, this is what it looks like compared to the Epics. So looking at the features and benefits, we're just going to scroll down through the list. So you have your body battery benefit, which is your heart rate variability. We'll talk about that and what you see on the app. You got your training status. This is a huge addition that was added to the Instinct 2, not on the Instinct 1, and actually not on a lot of watches, not on the Venue 2, not on the Vivo Active, where you can track your workout rigor and your workout impact to your load and your fitness level development over time. You have your weather. This is just what it looks like, so you can have a little bit of a snapshot, but it actually does a really good job with this higher resolution screen. Sunset, sunrise, which is on, a lot of watches, obviously on the original Instinct 1. Solar intensity, this has got new solar. One thing about the solar is it's a 30% increase over the impact to battery life. And then, I didn't mean to do that. So you have a lot of basic things in here. You can track your last sport. This is what the sport stats would look like if you dive into the sport. There is a slight lag on the watch relative to other watches that I've tested and used. So you can go into this, training effect. You can see the impact of that workout. You can see right here your aerobic impact, your anaerobic impact, and then the load, which is your overall exertion score, just more of a flat line exertion score. Your impacts on the two features, and then you have heart rate, you have all the basic things you would have on any of the Garmin watches. Steps, you can track heart rate, you can see notifications do come through. So here's how they look on here. I'm going to show in the later parts where I really struggle with some of the legibility of this watch, because just in moving around day-to-day life, when you go to turn and look at it, it's just harder to pick up. Not as hard to see on the video, but harder for me to read. I'm going to do a little video specifically for that later on in this. You have your music control. So you can flip back and forth. This is pretty sweet. This is not on any other watches. I went and looked for this widget to put it on my Epics. It's actually the moon where the moon's at. And when it's getting to, you know, close to full, you can see the little picture change up there. It's cool how they've implemented the higher quality resolution. This is just the compass. So you get a compass, 2 different versions of a compass. I put on there the VO2 Max. This is something that's not on the original Instinct and actually not on a lot of watches. This is the race prediction. But instead of having a spot check and time of your race prediction, this will show you if you're trending towards a faster 5K, for example. You can see that up there. I'm trending towards the faster 5K, although I'm still incredibly slow. This also has the health snapshot, where it takes 5 metrics over the course of 2 minutes and creates a little report, and that report saves in your Garmin app. So then you have this quality of the sleep. This, again, you can't get any of this. This is not available as a widget. It's not on the Instinct one, not on the Vivo Active. It definitely is on the Venue 2, not on the 245, so not on a lot of watches that Garmin offers, where you can see not just the details, but you can see the sleep score right here in the 88 there, and it gives you just a lot of your stats here on the watch. You obviously, hydration, you can add widgets, you can add third-party widgets, and that is the sum. So you can hold this down, you can get your alarms, your timer, stopwatch. This jumps you into a quick set of other functions. You can hold this down, you can get quick access to a bunch of different capabilities. These are basically what you call your controls. This is really actually a super useful one. The Find My Phone, you can actually easily track your phone. Really, that flashlight doesn't really do a whole lot because it's again, it's a super dim screen. So that is the watch in summary. The specs alongside it. This is the Elevate 4.0. This has a better heart rate accuracy as well as better pulse ox, blood oxygen level tracking accuracy on this. It's the standard, you know, Garmin cable. The other thing I forgot to remember is it has a whole bunch of new sports profiles, mountain biking, that are not on the Instinct original, and not in high intensity interval training. Golf is not on the original. There's a ski one on here, as well as this does multi-sport tracking, so you can do a triathlon. That's not on the Instinct. It's not on the Vivo Active. Not on a lot of watches. So this does all of the best of the activities you could possibly want to track versus the top of the line watches. And it also, I forgot to mention, has incident detection, which is not on many of the watches, as well as Garmin Pay. You just push a button. As long as you connected it, you swipe it over there and you can pay for items at the store. All right, so this is the Garmin landing page, the main, spectrum of Garmin benefits and details. I'm not going to look at all the details, and I'm going to try to go quickly. Obviously, you can get your sleep, weight. We're going to look at some of those a little bit details, your steps, the number of floors you've climbed, the number of calories you burned, your respiration rate throughout the day. So a bunch of simple summary of the stats, but let's look at some of the stats when you come into a workout. So this is what a typical workout. This is the bike ride. It wasn't the fastest pace. It was a little bit more of a recovery. You can see your training effect, which the watch will give you an evaluation for how much aerobic impact you had from that exercise and anaerobic effect you had from that exercise. So that's the most simple workout value analysis for exertion that you can get. So that's what a workout would look like, and then it flows into your training status, your training load over time. So every workout you do will calculate whether it's anaerobic, highly aerobic, and lowly aerobic. This is not on the 245. This is a feature that's only on some of the higher end, like 745, 945, Phoenix 6, Phoenix 7 Epics, where it gives you this load specificity. And then you have your load score. So you can see in the little tiny lines under each of the dates, you can see your load that you accumulated. So that's also an exertion score, sort of like an epoch or a trimp is some of the technical terms you can look up. And then you have your load over the last 7 days. Your green is when you're sort of maintaining your fitness level. The white is what your overall load was looking at the last 7 days. And you can see, where you're tracking over time. I've been just in a much more maintaining because I've been much more busy. But this is something that's not on the Instinct 1. Not all of this is on the 245. This is not on the Venue 2, not on the Vivo Active 4, not on all the other, a lot of the Garmin watches. So those are the training and fitness, training load type things. And the other is the wellness thing. So this is the body battery where it tracks your stress all the time. And stress is a constant tracking of your heart rate variability. Garmin is the only one of its kind that's tracking heart rate variability all the time. You can see it in a graph. They don't show you your heart rate variability numbers, but they give it to you in summary form, and they basically calculate it as a stress number at any given time, and the stress, whittles down your internal body battery, and it increases your body battery if you're sleeping and if you're in a low stress state. So you can see it across the days. If you've had a rough day, high levels of stress will show in orange, but this is the most important health metric to me that I found to date. Is included in this watch. And then you have your sleep components where it gives you your sleep stats, where you can see your deep sleep, or 4 stages of sleep. Many watches do 3 stages. Many watches, do have all 4 stages, but this has that, but it also has pulse ox throughout the night. It was a little bit more splotchy with the Instinct 2 over the Fenix 7 and the Epics that I've tested, but again, I haven't found a way to feel like this is worthwhile information, but it is capable. It can do it. Respiration rate through breathing rate through the night's sleep, which is actually a helpful stat to see if you're getting good sleep, if your breathing is normal. And then this is the more important aspect of sleep, which is only on the 745, 945, 945 LTE Fenix 6, Fenix 7 series, not on the 245, and it is definitely not on the Instinct 1. It's not on the Vivo Active. It's on the Venue 2. I don't believe it's on the Venue 1. So you get 8 components of analysis, 8 components of analysis that flow through to a sleep score. And I'm going to tell you, this thing will give you some low scores. This will tell you you failed in your sleep. This will tell you when you are in need of major recovery. Here I got a 27. So those are the wellness aspects that come into it. You can track your weight. You can tie in MyFitnessPal to see what your over-under calorie intake for the day is. You can do a whole bunch of different things because you can add in third-party widgets. You can tie in third-party applications, and it all flows into this major landing page. So that is the app. All right, so what are the pros? So we've seen all the details on the specs and the watch and the app. What are the pros that I see in looking at the Garmin Instinct 2, and also compared to some of the others that are offered out there through the Garmin lineup, through the others, and we're going to talk about that more in the summary. But the pro number one and primary one is it functionally, for all the data and analytics, it is as good as the Fenix 7, the 945 LTE, the Epics. So you look at the full suite of very pricey watches, and this does all of the same capabilities. So I've worn it alongside the Epics for 2 weeks just to see if the body battery nuances are any different, or the sleep analytics are any different, or the sleep score is any different. I've worn it on workouts side by side to see if the heart rate accuracy is any different. And then when wearing both and connecting both watches to a chest strap to see if the analytics when it comes to training effect, aerobic and anaerobic, training load, compiling, recovery time, all of them are completely the same. I did an 8-mile bike ride tonight, and I just wore the watches. I didn't have them connect chest strap. I strapped them both down really tight. It was the same heart rate. It was the same graph. I was going to show an overview, but it's just not worth it because it's just the same graph. The same recovery time came from that workout, the same training analytics as far as aerobic and anaerobic impact, the same load score. It's all the same GPS. I'm getting the exact same GPS. So all the things are fully capable. If you look at the full expensive lineup of the Fenix 7 and the Epics up to the high echelon, and then the 945 LTE, and I only called that one out specifically because the 945 LTE variant is the only of the Forerunner series that currently has the Elevate 4.0 heart rate sensor, which is more accurate on heart rate and accurate on pulse ox. So that's why specifically it is the same. It's the same. So in a $400 or $500 watch, you're going to get all the same quality of all the wellness and all the training analytics. And this is such a huge differentiator from the Instinct 1, which lacked all the training analytics and also now lacks the sleep analytics on the wellness side. So big differentiator. The second thing is the price over those things for the feature set. So this is now the most comprehensive full value watch that Garmin offers for the price. So at $400 and at $500, the next step up would be $600 plus for the 945 LTE. Now, you could get all the same similar stats, but just not the same heart rate accuracy, pulse ox accuracy, so you'd have to wear a chest strap for CrossFit workouts. The Elevate 3.0, it's on the 945, the 745, the 245, the Fenix 6 series, is fine for all of the health stats, for sleep score, for body battery tracking otherwise, but you'd have to get a heart rate, chest monitor. But still, you're looking at higher end watches, and this one now has everything, including the heart rate sensor and new solar technology, which is getting 30% more battery life. So those are the pros, and those are significant items. Now let's talk about the cons. Now on the cons, I have 2 minor ones and 2 major ones. The first minor one is that it's laggy. I'll sometimes push the sports profile activity to start a workout, and there'll be a pause, and I'll be like, did it push it? And then it turns on. I'll sometimes stop the workout, and then I'll say, did it stop? And then it stops, or then it shows the stop screen and there's a set of options. I'll go to push the save and delay there. So that's one minor thing. Second minor thing, which is important to me and actually could be important to those in the CrossFit community, is that the bottom right button does not function as a lap counter. So on all the other Garmin watches down to the 245, you push the bottom right button and it'll just register a lap time. And so you could build a CrossFit specific workout. I actually have made videos about that, how to build a specific CrossFit profile, sports profile, so which will track what round you're on, so it'll count your rounds. When you finish a round, you just click the button and it says, okay, now you're on to round 2, 3, 4, if you have 10 rounds of something for time. But it also will track your last lap time and your current lap time to see if your pace is falling off significantly, but you can't do that if you don't have the lap button functionality. I don't know if there's some special trick. I didn't look into all the settings, but I don't think it's there. At least it's not there in simple form. Because at least I pushed all the buttons. The next big thing is the battery life. So in talking about battery life, let's just look at a quick chart and then talk about it in detail. All right, so before I go into the stats, I just want to say that I did turn the backlight up to the full brightness, which is still 13% of the brightness of the Fenix 7. It is tracking pulse ox at sleep only. And I did not get a lot of sun, and I'll talk about which workouts maybe I did do some GPS, but I did not get a lot of sun. I think there was probably sun exposure at a minor level for about an hour a day. So you'd really have to compare this. The standard Instinct 2 is rated in smartwatch mode at 24 days, and then almost unlimited with solar added on. So you're thinking 24 days in smartwatch mode without solar, and then you add some GPS, you're thinking 21 days, 20 days, and here's the chart of what I actually got. So again, read the top, 100% brightness, and again, only 9.7 lumens. The brightness, the watch light, backlight came on when I flipped my wrist to see what time it was or read a text message, and the pulse ox was on at night. This is the time. So on the left were the tests, and on the right are the results. So I thought in that first test that maybe it needed a couple of charge cycles. So I actually ran it through 2 more charge cycles, used it for a couple days, and then recharged it back up to 100%. And my test as of the last test was about the same. And this averages out to it lasting from 100% to 0% about 147 hours with minor GPS usage. And that is 6.12 days. So I was thinking it would go 2 weeks. It's not projected to go 2 weeks. Obviously, you can see, and I don't know this has anything to do with it, I barely came down to about 50% each time I ran the test. I didn't take it all the way to 0 to see if there was some magic trick that worked when it got to 20% brightness, even though you didn't want to turn off any of the settings. So I was only getting 6 days of battery life. And if you even compare this in simple form to the Epics, this is the Epics with no pulse ox on at night and just using low brightness. But yes, the brightness fully illuminates to that low setting when you raise your wrist, and it is with always on, and all these stats rate to the same on the same time schedule to 7 days. So I'm getting 7 days on the Epic's fully AMOLED screen. It's about 50 times brighter, literally 50 times brighter than Instinct 2 with all the visual pretty display with always on display. 7 days versus the Instinct 2. Now 6 days in today's world is still a long period of time. If you don't find the backlight even that helpful anyway, and you just turn it down to 20% or 10%, whatever it comes out of the box, you're going to easily double this because somehow that backlight is having a more significant effect on the battery. So we can see with battery, it's not nearly what I what it sort of promotes itself to be. I obviously have this turned all the way up to 100% brightness, which at full brightness is 9.6 lumens, which is again only 13% of the brightness of the full brightness of the Fenix 6 or Fenix 7. So a big gap in brightness overall, even when jacked up to the max, and it's significantly affecting battery life. And then the last major bug or major con or major issue for me is legibility throughout life. So when text messages come up, if you're in the middle of a workout and you're wanting to see a small stat on the screen, I'm not able to read it. Now, I don't have perfect eyes, but I also don't have horrific eyes. I use 1.25, reading glasses, so the lowest level of reading glasses, and I cannot really see unless it's like really bright outside, because as you get older, your eyes don't adjust to dim light, and so things get more blurry the more dim it is. So if you're in really bright things, your eyesight's better. So unless it's in real bright, I can't see the small stats. And I actually wanted to show what the comparison would be, because it is a much duller screen. And so here's a comparison video of seeing, this versus the Epics. Now, it's not a fair comparison. I don't have a Fenix 7 on hand because I have to buy the watches one at a time and then resell them to be able to make these videos. But this is it versus the Epic 7, so you can sort of see what it'd be like in multiple different workouts and multiple different types of experiences. Okay, video while riding a bike. What you can see on the bike, and then with the Epics. Here it is running. See if you can read it. And then versus the Epics. Again. All right, so it looks like in dusk, in dim light, or I guess it is sort of dark out. So this is the full brightness, dark out, and you can compare it to obviously the low brightness on the Epics. All right, this is it on the treadmill. We were trying to get information, and this is the Epics on the treadmill getting information. The heart rate monitor on the treadmill at a face distance, Epics at a face distance. This is what it looks like mid-workout. That's what you would read from about the distance of my face. Obviously, you could get a little closer. Heart rate mode, that's the clarity you would see on that versus, and this isn't a fair comparison, what you'd see on the Epics, or at least a brighter screen. Same thing with the heart rate gauge, but obviously there's no comparison to screen technology. So there you have it. Those are the cons, those are the pros. The big pro is just obviously that it has all the stats. It does everything exact same as the Fenix 7 at a much lower price point. The cons is that if you have slight trouble reading, that this is going to be a problem on the screen quality, and then just the battery life wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be and expected it to be. So in summary, what do I think of the Garmin Instinct 2? Obviously, like I've said in the pro section, it has a full set of features, so it is an incredibly feature-packed watch. So let's break down who this would be a good thing to look at for and who it would not. Obviously, first off, it would be great if you were on a tight budget and wanted a full set of features. This is the best watch for the budget. This is the best watch for the lower price. Secondly, if you're an Instinct 1 user, I'd absolutely say yes. Yes, it's an upgrade because it offers all the training features and the sleep score features that aren't offered on the current Instinct 1, and those are big, significant differentiators. Third, if you're into CrossFit and you're looking for a good all-around watch, yes, this would be a great watch because it has the full set of wellness, sleep tracking, recovery tracking, body battery, heart rate variability, plus all the training analytics, all the fanciest stuff. Fourth, if you are a 245, a Garmin Forerunner 245, I'd say yes, get this, because the 245 doesn't have the sleep analytics and it has a more muted version of the training analytics, plus this has a much better heart rate sensor on it. Looking at other watch manufacturers, if you have a Polar watch, if you're in the Polar Grit X family, it's sort of questionable because they offer much better training detail, it's not much better, I shouldn't say much better sleep detail, because the sleep probably is more in-depth on the polar watches, but the heart rate variability tracking all day on the body battery is better on this. So it's sort of like questionable what you would lean towards. This, I think, does have a bigger feature set, but just a much worse screen than the Polar Grip. The Coros Apex Pro. In my opinion, I would say it's a definite yes. Upgrade from the Coros Apex Pro to even the Instinct 2, and obviously you have the money to get even higher. But the Coros system doesn't have really quality training, really quality recovery and wellness and sleep. Their sleep is just sort of a mess. Their heart rate variability that's even on the Vertix 2, the only one of its kind, is not really of value to me. And then the training is great on the Coros. It's also great on the Garmin. So kind of head to head there, but you have to run for 300 minutes to even get it to start tracking, and then you're building your tracking base on the Coros family of watches. So Coros, I'd say yes, upgrade, because you get a full package and it doesn't take as long to activate. The Suunto Peak 9, obviously you could look at the Suunto 9, you could look at the Suunto 5. I would say not totally. It's sort of questionable because Suunto uses some of First Beat analytics for some of their aspects. They've added the training peaks for the training load tracking. So I feel like it's somewhat head to head because the sleep is just not as in depth on the Suunto family of watches, but they're at least tracking your body battery or resources, what they call it, heart rate variability over time. So it's sort of in between, and the Suunto 9 Peak is a very sharp looking watch. So on the flip side, who should not get it? So if you are somebody that uses reading glasses, you should not get this. If you're somebody that uses 1.5, 1.25 or more on reading glasses, I think you're going to have a problem with legibility, even if you have the backlight jacked up to full brightness. Secondly, if you're somebody that just likes a better screen experience, this is a much duller screen, like far and below, even though it's transflected memory and pixel, it's far and below a lesser screen than the Fenix 6, the Forerunner 745, the 945, 945 LTE, and obviously the Fenix 7. So it's going to be a felt difference. If you're somebody that wants a more professional watch, no, because this is just sort of a big, bulky G-Shock-esque watch. If you're somebody that has the money to buy one of Garmin's nicer watches or more expensive watches, then no, don't look at the Instinct 2, because you are kind of losing a lot of feature sets. So you go to the Fenix 7 or even the Fenix 6, you pair it to a chest strap for your workouts, you would have all the mapping and you'd have music, and so you'd have a lot more enhanced there. So, and if you're somebody on the 945, the 745, and any of the variants higher than that, the Fenix 6, if you currently have that, no, I wouldn't say you should upgrade, because if you're doing CrossFit or high intense interval training, you should not rely on an optical heart rate sensor on your wrist. You should be wearing a chest strap or an armband to track your heart rate more accurately. And so then it's sort of an equal sum game, in my opinion. This does have the newer heart rate sensor, but you shouldn't be tracking it off your optical heart rate sensor anyway if you're doing more intense workouts. So no, you shouldn't upgrade from 945, 745 or the Fenix 6, because it would be a downgrade in your overall experience and you wouldn't be getting much out of it. So that's it. That's it. It's a short review. So that is the full and in-depth review for the Garmin Instinct 2, and compared to some of the other watch manufacturers that are out there, as well as compared to current Garmin lineup. And if you want any more in-depth details, check the videos in the description below. It's a Figure Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.